Starts right now. Here's your host, Erin Summers.
Welcome into the New Orleans Saints podcast. I'm Erin Summers. It is definitely getting busier around here. We are wrapping up OTAs this week, and minicamp starts next week. OTAs, they're optional. Minicamp, however, is mandatory. So it should be a lot of good content coming out next week. Minicamp runs Tuesday through Thursday. We will have access every day, so you can expect a lot on NewOrleansSaints.com. Last week, the Saints announced their selection for the 2023 induction into the Saints Hall of Fame, and it was cornerback Jabari Greer. Greer played 5 seasons with the Saints from 2009 to 2013. After first being signed by the Bills, he was an undrafted free agent out of Tennessee in 2004. Greer helped the Saints reach the playoffs 4 out of his 5 seasons there, including, the Super Bowl in 2009. He played in 63 games, 60 starts. He had 290 tackles, 9 interceptions, 68 passes defensed, a forced fumble, and a fumble recovery. Greer developed such a special relationship with the fans in New Orleans and the community here that he stayed for several years after his retirement. Here's Greer during the Hall of Fame press conference last week.
I think that there's only a few places in the NFL that you have the experience that you have the experience with the fans that you have here in New Orleans. There's only about 2 or 3 more places, but I think that there's no place that loves and that stays with their team, no matter good or bad, than the New Orleans Saints fans. And I believe that because of that, I was able to not only fall in love with the fan base, but fall in love with the city. I remember in 2011 when we came so close. You know, we had a really good team, and unfortunately, we weren't able to get to the NFC Championship. And I remember coming home from San Francisco, and the streets were lined with thousands and thousands of fans, like loving us, encouraging us, being there for us, whether win or lose. And there's many times in which we walked out the tunnel after a tough loss in the Superdome, and people were encouraging us just as if we had won the game, picking up our heads, and not ever giving up on us. And so I do understand that we had set a standard of winning and of excellence from that 2009 to 2011 season. People were expecting us to be to hold a certain standard. But when we did not meet up to that standard, every single week, we were met with grace. We were met with understanding. And I think that you only get that in a city that sees itself in its team. The way that the New Orleans Saints embraces diversity, they embrace community, they embrace family. You know, I think it permeates throughout the city. This is a city that loves its people. This is a city that loves its people. And because they love its people so well, they love their team. These people love their team. And I think that in turn, the teams love the community. I could not have been, I could, like, through God's grace, I came to the best place on earth to play football. And there is no place like the Superdome on Sunday. You're hearing the brass band. You're hearing Stand Up, Get Crunk for the first time. You know, those are moments that you can't replicate. And to be on the center stage, in front of 85,000, 90,000 people when Stand Up, Get Crunk on, when Stand Up and Get Crunk comes on, and everybody's going crazy, so much where I can't even hear the guy next to me, is something that was so special. And I feel like that you can only get here. And so, I mean, for me, this became home, and it's still home. My children were born here. We have New Orleans circulating through our blood. And the way I think it was just a definitive point in my life where everything changed. It's kind of like post New Orleans, pre New Orleans and post New Orleans for me. And so, yeah, the relationship between the team and the fans is one that's special. And for me in particular, I think that this is one of the best places on earth. I love New Orleans.
I had a chance to sit down with Jabari following the announcement to dive into who he was on the field and what he's been doing since. Jabari, thank you so much for joining me on the New Orleans Saints podcast. Congratulations on the honor.
Yeah, it really is an honor, and I'm kind of extremely humble, to say the least.
You were emotional when you were speaking just moments ago at the Hall of Fame press conference. What was it like to receive the call?
Well, I was a bit in disbelief when I first received the call. I thought that I knew how I was not only was going to react, but I thought I knew that I was prepared for what Ken Trahan was going to want to tell me. But we were at dinner with the kids, and I put it on speakerphone, and I think that more than anything, it was a moment that I got to share with them. And because of the nature of like what we were doing, being at the table together as a family, and hearing, I got some celebration from my past life, right? A life that I kind of like was dead and buried for a long, for years, to be able to bring that back up and to celebrate that with them, I think for me was one of the most incredible things that I could do as a dad.
You have always talked a lot about your family, how important they were to you, are to you. You've talked about your brother being somebody that motivated you to get to where you are. What is it about family that just means so much to you?
I think that, well, fortunately, I was able to have a mother and father that really saw the importance of instilling a good relationship between me, my brother, my sister. And growing up, being the middle child, I related to my brother a lot in sports, and related to my sister in in ways,
How to treat women.
Exactly. And doing Star Search dances and just all types of stuff. But I think it wasn't until I had children that a lot of the lessons and and as I got older, a lot of the wisdom that my parents were continuously imparting to me kind of took root and started to bear fruit. And so for me, I think understanding the foundation of everything that we do in the community starts with family. And selfishly, right? I mean, I see myself in them, and they will be the best part of me once I leave. Hopefully I live the life that they love and respect. But ultimately, they will continue on after I'm here. So I want to be faithful with that opportunity, and really instill to them the importance of what the only team that we didn't choose, and we don't choose our Team Greer. So I'm thankful.
You've done a lot to give back to the community and continue to show what it means to be a good father, to be a good mentor with your Greer campaign. What went into starting that, and what do you still do with it here in New Orleans?
Well, I was a young father, right? I was 21 when my daughter came. I was 22 when my son came. And there were many times that even though I was playing professional sports, we have this thing in our community where we feel like we made it, right? We made it to the big time. And so having all this outward adulation, having all of this perceived success, but at the same time feeling as if I wasn't present and I was not as intentional as I could be for the most important people in my life, really was an isolating feeling. And so I understood that there were very few places where fathers and men can go that we could share these struggles or these moments of fear and of like vulnerability that we had. And so I remember one time a good friend of mine, Paul Williams, unfortunately he's passed on now, but he was a high school teammate. And I remember he was raising his child and he was driving, he was doing like domestic trips. He was driving a truck and he was doing deliveries. And I remember he called me to check up with me, and I heard it in his voice, and I asked him what was wrong. And he said, I've been raising my daughter for the last year. She's been with me full time. I've been working, but I still am forced to pay child support. He said, I feel like I am alone. I feel isolated. Mm-hmm. And I remember at that moment, it's just clear as we're talking right now. I heard like God say to me, there needs to be a place where men can go where they no longer feel alone. And so we started the campaign that allowed men a place where they can go so that they can talk about and be encouraged and be strengthened and be equipped with tools to be able to be a better father. And I mean, there's something powerful about providing a place where men can be vulnerable. Because it takes a lot for men to get to that place, right? It takes a lot for men to be able to say, I don't know what I'm doing. This is tough. This is out of my control. I need help. And so when a man is willing to be at that place, when a man is willing to honestly and transparently lean on his brothers, you know, there's something spiritual about those moments. And so, you know, we did that and we loved it. And over time, you know, things have they've transitioned and they've transformed into, you know, things on their own. And I've had more success and less success in it. But as of the last few years, I've taken a back seat on doing the 501c3, the nonprofit way, and really been focused just more on my writing and just writing more about the topics and really, like, I guess, making a point with the pen. So, yeah.
Where can we find that?
Well, right now I'm writing a piece that hopefully when it comes out, if you follow me on social media, I will let you know. So it really is interesting, man, because where I'm at right now in my life is so removed from the sports arena.
We're going to get back to that.
Oh, yeah. So removed from the sports arena. You know, like I was an athlete my entire life. And you know, I stopped playing when I was 31, 32. And then after that, I taught sports for another 9 years. Well, actually, no, so for another 9 years, 8 or 9 years. And so then last year, February, I just felt the move away from sports. I felt being cleansed by it. I was cleansed by it, you know. And so now the pieces that I'm writing are more about like social commentary, psychology, spirituality, love, humility, things like that. Things that are really passionate to me. And so now I'm writing the piece and I'm going to be submitting to everything. So hopefully you can read it in all the big publications.
Great. We'll definitely follow along
You
for that.
gonna check me out?
Yeah,
right,
got to. I mean, you're a very eloquent speaker, so I'm sure you're a good writer as well. But taking it back to your time here with the Saints, when you joined the organization, you just told a story about how you heard a voice saying, this is where you're going to be able to be a kid again.
Yeah.
Were you able to be a kid here?
Yes. Oh, yes, I was. Oh, my goodness. That, like, to be on this side of it. Okay, so how much time we got?
I mean,
okay.
I can sit here all day.
Okay, so one of the biggest fears that I had, well, and I'm sure that a lot of players who sign contracts and who have expectations, who have expectations to not only do well, but whose expectations are placed upon you by, you know, fans and organizations, you know, that is the pressure to meet and exceed those expectations are enormous, right? I want to make sure that they're getting what they're paying for, and I'm giving them more than what they're paying for. And so when I visited here, and I had that spiritual moment, many times our smell is one of the strongest ties that we have to memory. And so if you've ever played like little league sports, you know, specifically Generation X is Gen X are these mouthpieces that we used to have to boil. They have a very distinct smell. And so I remember just walking in the parking lot, smelling that smell just wafting across my face, and hearing the voice, when you come here, you'll be able to play like you're a kid again. I knew I was supposed to be here. And then looking now 16, 17, 18 years, you know, later, no, 2009, no, it's what I'm tripping, 11 years later, right? It's 2023. 14 years later. Here we go.
Math.
14. You're just gonna let me get to it. Like, you'll get to it.
I'm not claiming to be a mathematician over here.
So 14 years later, seeing that not only did I meet and exceed the expectation of coming here, but I left with not only a good taste in my mouth, but I left on good terms with the city. You know what I mean? I left on good terms with the organization. I left on good terms with the city. So much that I can come back in moments like this and be honored, even though I have nothing else to give to this organization. I would like to think that I could play 2 more series, you know what I'm saying? But the truth is, like, I'm 41. I play.
You look like it.
Oh, well, I appreciate. I asked him for the small shirt, and that exasperates things a bit. But I would say that I would have never realized how this would have turned out, because there was so much fear about failing and about not meeting the expectation that I had for myself, that the team had for me, and that the fans had for me. So to see that I not only played for this organization, I not only fulfilled my deal, but they re-signed me to another deal, that we won a Super Bowl, and that I retired a Saint. I am now inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, is a testament to God's grace in my life, and is a testament to understanding and acting and understanding that there will be moments that I have to pull the trigger, that I have to listen to wisdom, and I have to understand that things are moving in my direction for a reason. So I could have easily heard the voice. I could have easily understood the situation around New Orleans, and I could have just chalked it up to it being an anomaly, and I would have missed the best thing that would have ever happened in my life.
You definitely have a lot of appreciation for your time here.
Yeah.
And this honor, being inducted into the Saints Hall of Fame, shows their appreciation right back for what you did here. Thinking about some of your memories when you played here, multiple playoff runs, the Super Bowl run, unfortunately you got hurt later in the season, but you're able to come back for.
Yeah.
You know, what stands out to you about some of your moments here, maybe on the field with some of your teammates?
Oh yeah. So I was a different type of player in the fact that I was serious about my craft, but I didn't take things so seriously. And so my favorite moments are just acting, being funny, being silly in the locker room.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Lighting up the mood in the meeting room, right? We would just like have certain routines that we would do that were unique to us. We would have inside jokes. We would have certain things that we did that were special to the DBs. So it was the relationship that we had together. There's something about professional football that, I say football covers all sins, right? All wounds. And so there's this bubble that we're in here that, being able to come to work, play a game, dress down, not have to worry about anything or everything else. There's this bubble that you live in and that you work in the professional football realm. That is something that was beautiful, that I really thought was a sacred space. And so I often think that, I think about the particular games that we played. I think about the Super Bowl. I think about the win versus Miami coming back 26-0. I think about, how hard the San Francisco 49ers was hitting us in 2011. Like, that was crazy, man. Like, the way that there were so many different games that are imprinted in my mind and in my spirit. But at the end of the day, it was the relationship with my teammates and the relationship with the city, like being able to be in there, in the Superdome and hear the Who Dat chant and hear Stand Up Get Crunk, be there when it started, when we first started doing it, right, doing kickoff, and that excitement that they have, hearing the brass band and in section 650, and seeing all the costumes and everything. This was an event. Being a New Orleans Saint on Sunday is an event, and I had a front row seat that you couldn't pay for. You could not buy that seat that I had. You had to earn it. And it took me 20-something years to earn that seat, and it was well worth the journey.
How much fun is it going to be come December 8th weekend when you're able to go to the Dome again, be out there for the Panthers game?
Well, I think it's cool. I mean, I guess it's a little different because I've had
You'll
the
still
best.
get to be center stage.
Yeah, I've had the best seat at the house. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's like they I feel I'm coming at it from a different perspective. Like right now, it's like I'm a wounded warrior coming back. You know what I mean? Which is, I get it. I'm thankful that they have me back, but it's just like they bring me in and be like, okay, now get out of here. No,
So they're bringing you in to honor
okay,
you.
yeah, come in. You did great. Now get off the field. We got some real guys playing games, And I'm like, and I'm still, because no matter how old you get, you still think you can play. Like, man, if you give me a helmet, I may be able to do one or two more
I
plays.
see you running up and down the sideline.
Exactly,
Like, put me in, coach.
So I'm happy that I'll be able to be in a position where I can get back on the field, and more than anything, having my kids like walk on the field with me and having them have that experience, because I've had that experience. Now I know what that experience did for me. It opens up what I think is possible in life. And so it's not even about me having that experience anymore. It's about me bringing my children in to have that experience so that they can understand that anything's possible. And then they can go to any meeting, any room, and feel like, I've been in a bigger situation than this. And so that is what I'm looking forward to the most.
When head coach Dennis Allen was introducing you, he said that you were the epitome of a New Orleans Saint. What does that mean to you? What do you think you exemplified when you were here?
Well, I appreciate that. I think I epitomize the right type of player doing things the right way. And so I realized very quickly that for me to meet up and exceed the expectations that were placed upon me, that I had to effectively do three things. I had to be a player that they can count on, that could make plays on the field. I could be a player that was encouraging, uplifting, and that was someone who did the right things in the locker room, right? That listened to the older players and loved on the younger players. And that I was going to be someone who could carry myself well in the media, get the message out, and get the message out that we as New Orleans Saints are men of diverse background that are coming here to not only play the game at a high level, but to love on the city and to love on each other as well. And so it's hard to get that disseminated to the entire city yourself. So it's really important for someone to develop that relationship with the media so that they can disseminate that on a wider scale. So I think threefold, being someone who understands the power of a message, that understands the power of preparation, and understands that this opportunity is just a small moment of my life, but if I work it and I understand it and I take advantage of it, that 5 years can turn into 50. And so what that means is 5 years of hard work can turn into 50 years of an incredible life. And so I look forward to whatever God has for me next, because I realize that what has already happened in my life, transpired in my life, it's been good. It's been good. And so I have no complaints. Moving forward, I just look forward to whatever he has for me.
Well, we look forward to seeing you here again for the actual induction into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations, and thank you for the time.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Honestly, I could have talked to Jabari for the entire day. Tons of great insight there. You can follow him on Twitter at Jabari_Greer. And we'll definitely be covering Hall of Fame weekend, December 8th through 10th. Minicamp again starts next Tuesday. This Tuesday, we will start the final week of OTA coverage. You can see that on NewOrleansSaints.com or at Saints on Twitter. Next week, again, it is every day, Tuesday through Thursday. Pictures, video, sound. We have you covered. Thanks for listening this week. Next week on the pod, we will have 2 more of our recently hired coaches, defensive coordinator Joe Woods and defensive line coach Todd Grantham.
Thanks for listening to the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by SeatGeek. Join us 3 times per week on NewOrleansSaints.com, the Saints mobile app, or you can download the podcast on iTunes. We'll see you next time, right here on the New Orleans Saints podcast, presented by SeatGeek.